Yes, sir.
My name is Hansen Agimana. I work with ChannelOne TV CTFM. On the issue relating to the former finance minister, many wonder.
I talked about 4 cases. Why did you do
it? Many wonder what difference will his presence make for the OSP? Because again, as you've indicated, you have even the option of trying him in absentia, and if you have enough case against him, you can go ahead even without his presence. What exactly is the OSP interested in getting the finance minister back? Relating to the NPA case, you said that you give out the names of who did what at the right time.
When we filed?
Yes, when you filed. But I remember at the last press conference, you had singled out the former CEO of the NPA in the person of Mustafa Hamid. It's fair to ask, is he part of the issues you outlined here today, or his is different? Because they have come out to say that you are not even engaged in him, you've not notified him of any,
so?
Yes, of any form of interrogation, and he's not done anything wrong.
Thank you.
And the final thing with this other part is it that you disagree? Because we know that Yoko's stance on the matter was based on an advice from the former Attorney General, who says that if you look at the reading of the law, money laundering should be on a predicate offense. Is it that the Office of the Special Prosecutor disagreed with that legal view?
Can I answer?
So let's get a bit more. Is there any more question so that we are clear that after this one?
Let me override you. Sometimes when it's pressure in mind, the responses come quick. At the time I take 20 questions, I'll forget the meat of what he said. What is his presence? What will his presence do? Now, as I said, in due course we will charge him, whether in absentia or otherwise. Imagine we charge him in absentia and we get a conviction against him. Who are we in prison or who are we finding? Say, we are the simple mathematics. As I said in my brief, a suspect in a criminal matter does not choose how the investigative authority should go about investigating him. When he wants to appear, when he decides to appear, in what way he wants to appear. We do not take portion statements online from a foreign jurisdiction. And who says I even want to take a portion statement? He is the one who is dictating, he wants to dictate the process. You get it? And we have always insisted from the onset that we want him there. Legally, I will say that to you. But there's far more grave reason why we need him here. And since the investigation is still going on to be rounded up, so I will not be able to disclose to you. But as I said, that possibility, if we take him to court, if he is convicted, if he is sentenced to some number of days, months, years in prison, in absentia, what would we have done if we didn't take steps to bring him here? Mind you, this office investigated a former president. The former president was served at the time with the same kind of directive to appear before the OSP. We didn't have to be chasing the former president around the world, not much less a former minister of finance. What is so special about Mr. Ofori-Atta that he thinks he's unique and should be treated like a king? As I said, we have indulgently accommodated him. It ends here today. This rigmarole is not going to go on anymore. We are not going to accommodate such conduct again. We've granted him so long a rope, it's tied him up and stuff. Our NPA, yes, we singled out 3 individuals on 12 February, and you said one said he hadn't been engaged. Let me ask my operational directors, should I review? He said no. So when we file, as I said, we will go through, we will brief you who did what, who took what, who acquired what, and what we've been able to identified and what we've been able to retrieve so far. We've retrieved some things here. Cecilia Daba, when in May 2024, the then head of Yoko returned the docket back to the OSP. The OSP didn't comment, did it? We didn't express an opinion as to whether we agreed with its conclusion or otherwise, or as to whether we agreed with the Attorney General then. We had investigated the matter. We had hit a wall in terms of our mandate. We were seeing things that looked like in the province of Yoko's mandate. So we sent the docket to Yoko under referral, under provisions under our act. Not for them to go to court, because we didn't think the docket was ready for prosecution. What we suggested is do your own investigation, commence your own investigation to see if you will see conclusions of what we think we are seeing. They returned it to us wholly and said they didn't have any basis upon which to commence investigation. A year later, it's a new leadership. The new leadership has requested for the docket that they want to review and commence investigation. So we've given it back to Yoko under the new leadership, and we have promised them our full collaborative support and partnership in respect of their review and investigation. Shouldn't you be happy that someone wants to take action and not someone who just closes a file and says, I can't even open up to investigate? Yes. Yes, sir. Right, I see you this morning.
Perhaps on TV. Perhaps
means you were on TV this morning.
No, maybe earlier in the afternoon. On that May 28 letter, lawyers of Mr. Ofori-Atta wrote to you, where they, amongst many things, disclosed his health condition. Did they by chance communicate if there was a possible date to which he could honor this invitation at a subsequent date? That's the first question. The second is, when you wrote back rejecting the explanation that had been offered, reason for which he cannot make that appearance, has there been yet again another response from the lawyers of Mr. Ofori-Atta? Because there is also the argument being made that in all of your actions you've been adversarial, and like my colleague had mentioned, if indeed you have a case, you should have filed it by now.
Just as has been his style, 28 May 2025 request to us contained no suggestion of it. Mind you, all this while we beat the date out of him. You will recall, he never suggests a date. He just says, I'm unwell, I cannot come. When I come in, our lawyers will inform me. The police, police. Yeah. When the law enforcement agency at the prosecutorial investigative authority wants you, you do not tell that investigative and prosecutorial authority that you choose to come when you want to come. It is a criminal inquiry. You are a suspect. You've been told clearly. Because upon arrival here, we may choose to arrest you. It is not for you to choose and pick what should be done. Now, I signed the letter for dispatch on 30th May. That is on Friday. So we've not had any response. And I said we've been adversarial. I almost went to the lecture room. You know my first love. Once again, investigative and prosecutorial authorities are adversarial by nature. If I were to challenge you to read the entire scheme of affairs in Act 29 LI 2374, there is not a single provision there which is friendly. Read Act 29 itself, the mother of criminal jurisprudence in this country. There's not a single friendly provision because it is criminal. In criminal law, there's no friendliness. And that is principle, that is policy. Situate it in our context. We have been adversarial since 24 January. We kept pushing. We kept pushing. we've been indulgent. Because, let me speak here again, so when someone says they are not well, we listen. But is it on the say-so of the person in this modern era? If you want to take an excuse duty or your employers, you show up at your boss's desk and just say, I have cancer. I can't come to work the next 4 years. Is that what you will do? Would your bosses take you serious? You probably may be fired on the spot. How much more in a criminal inquiry? You are dealing with a criminal investigative and prosecutorial authority. And every time you show up and just say, just singularly, or you say so, that you are unwell, you cannot come. Mind you, in my brief, I said, from 24 January till now, Mr. Ofori-Atta has not produced any medical report. A semblance of it was that medical letter, that 5-line medical letter that said he may undergo a possible surgical intervention in March. And from March, count the days till 28 May. From 20 to 21 March, when he said he was going to have a possible medical intervention, surgical intervention, upon which reckoning we indulgently said, oh, take some of the days, recuperate. So he suggested he will come between 14th to 3rd May. He said, oh, take a few more days, come on 2nd June. How friendly can we be beyond this? After accommodating you, you sat by for at least 67 days when you knew your condition had changed, and you never bothered to tell the OSP that there's been a fundamental change in your condition, acting in bad faith. After bad faith, and for which reason they have stopped this party. Can we hear the hoarse voices? Let me hear something.
Thank you very much.
Including mine.
Special prosecutor, my name is Mami.
Did you hear that?
I am the Joyous. My first question is, the letter you received from Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers indicating that he is unwell and still unfit to present himself physically for interrogation. Have you independently verified the information that has been given to you, and you know exactly where he is in the US and in which state he is in? Also, you declared him wanted at a point where he doesn't return into the country. At which point are you going to begin extradition processes? Also, under the Mutual Legal Assistance Act, Act 807 under Section 42, it provides, opportunities for hearing of the accused person via video conference, one which the lawyers of Ofori-Atta have proffered. Why are you not considering that?
It's all in context. It's all in context. In my briefing, I said on extradition processes we commence it today. Because we had to wait. Maybe there would have been a change of mind from 28 May till now. You never know, because you don't hasten to take such decisions. Maybe from 28 May to today, 2 June, over the weekend, you may have emplaned and arrived in the country. So you wait for your own stipulated expiry date and time to elapse before commence action. So I said, 30 minutes before I came to commence the briefing, we triggered the extradition processes with the right authorities. And around the same time, we triggered the Interpol red notice for his location and provisional apprehension wherever he may be found. Now, you talk about MLE. So first, you asked whether we have independently verified whether he was unwell or not. You do not spend state resources and time chasing after ghosts. In this sense, when the person has not represented to you by any medical report or opinion that he is so unwell that he cannot travel, he is so unwell that he cannot come to the jurisdiction, you do not go wasting your time verifying. for the law enforcement agency, it tells us that he's been untruthful. And that is the reason why we've been at him since January. Because we do not believe what he's saying. You get it? And it is not for us, the law enforcement agency, the prosecutorial investigative authority, to establish his medical condition. For us, what the law requires us to do is, if we are investigating suspected corruption and corruption-related offences, and you are a suspect, we bring you in. When we find you, then we assess your situation to see if you should even go through such a process, if you should even stand a trial by reason of your medical condition. Look, even persons who have been convicted and in prison, when they fall so unwell, and they take into the hospital. That's why I said in P earlier that you're fire now. But the person has to show you that he is really so unwell that he cannot travel. And there are two things. As I'm standing here, you do not know my ailment. As you are sitting there, there may be some ailments which afflict you which I do not know. But merely by looking at you, I cannot tell that, oh, you are suffering from this or that or that. What tells us is what I told the first gentleman, a medical report. He's not the only one who's been in the US. He's not the only one who's been to medical facilities in the US. When US medical facilities are communicating with law enforcement, we know the form in which they come. A hospital administrator goes through a tedious process of detailed analysis of his condition to come to a conclusion that he is unfit to travel, and so he shouldn't be made to travel. That is when a law enforcement agency considers things like MLA processes, but not on your say-so, not by way of a biopsy report. Once again, a biopsy report in street language, it is merely like a lab test. That shows you have a certain condition. So in his context sense, it's indicated that it says he has cancer. It will be a removal of some tissue or fluid to test whether the tissues put in the cassette indicate cancerous cells. It doesn't mean that he is dying tomorrow, God forbid. It doesn't mean that he is so unwell that he can't travel. You know how many people are walking around with cancerous ailments, but they still show up at police stations and law enforcement agencies. That's why I asked the very first question, what is so special about Mr. Ofori-Atta that he thinks that he can lie on his bed somewhere and say on his say-so without any evidence that I'm unwell, I can't show up. Conclusion, he won't come voluntarily. And so we end this process of accommodating him and put him back on the wanted list. Yes. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Oyena Ponsa, and I work with Adom TV.
Thank you.
You said you wanted Ken Ofori-Atta in person. Is it that our laws do not permit trial in absentia? Is it the case that all the documents that are presented to you by Ken Ofori-Atta, you seem not to have, it has not meet your threshold? Is it also possible that the OSP will elect to go through the process or the trial, and at the end of the day, if the court listens to you and upheld in your favor, the court will declare, or the court will put him to a place that he is supposed to be put, rather than it appearing that the SP or the OSP is becoming a judge in his own court? Thank you.
On this, I would also want to ask you a question. Is this the first time that someone in our country has been declared wanted? Is it? All the persons previously declared wanted before him, were they human? Or they were not human? He is the only human. There's nothing special about this. That is all I'm pointing at. There's nothing special. There's nothing secretive or esoteric about it. It is just a simple legal process. Law enforcement agency wants you, you show up. If you see the gentleman standing by you, If he comes to you to say that you are under arrest, and you do not go quietly with him, what will happen? You will enforce it. If it doesn't reduce the length of one of your foot, your legs, and hauls you along with him. That's all I'm saying. There's no choice about you responding to criminal law enforcement. See, this video conferencing. This is not a civil inquiry. This is not a taking of a deposition in some matter for which you are filing before a court or not. Mind you, we are still in the investigative stage. We haven't filed yet. So everything now is under the purview of the OSP. You get it? Before we go to court, if the court says some emissaries should be taken there to question him under the largesse of whichever authority in whatever jurisdiction he may be found, that's fine. But for us doing investigations, we need to find our criminal suspects. We cannot just sit here and treat things like we are the same person who will turn around and say we are treating some harshly and we are sugarcoating others. For as far as we are concerned, Mr. Ofori-Atta is not special. I will repeat. We investigated a former president. Have you forgotten? On 8 August 2024, I came right in this room and made told Ghanaians our conclusions and our findings. A former president. He was served with the same processes. He showed up. I'll repeat again. Much less a finance minister, a former finance minister. The OSP stands for this. We do not regard persons. We do not regard titles. We do not regard your station in life. Everyone is the same to us. As we have set the precedent of investigating a former president, no one is beyond our purview. Everyone is fair game if we think you are a suspect in a criminal inquiry. Trial in absentia.